Before we get into the interview, I want to explain who Swako is, as he does not stream or make YouTube videos. It may be a lesser known name, especially in the casual side of the community. Since Season 1, Swako has been very involved in the competitive scene, playing scrims and tons of tournaments, winning multiple tournaments with his teammates on Team Berts. He has been a heavy main since the start of the game, and is seen by most in the competitive scene as one of the best heavy players, if not the best heavy. Currently, his team sits as the best competitive team in the game, being number 1 in the breakout esports scene. He tends to play much more in pro scrims and in tournaments, and less time in ranked, so this is why you may not see him at the top of the leaderboards every season. I'm really hoping that we can see a competitive scene thrive again within Season 4 so that we can see a lot of the teams compete, now that the meta has shifted so much. Thank you for doing this interview with me. So let me get started off with some questions so all the viewers can get to know you. What games did you play before playing the finals?
I played collegiate Overwatch. I won't say the university, obviously, but I played tank for it, and then I played Rainbow Six Siege, also collegiate level.
Okay. How many hours do you have in the finals?
Across all accounts, I probably have 1,300 hours.
Okay. And I want to kind of expand on that. Like, I know a lot of your time is kind of spent in like scrims and stuff. Would you say the majority of the time is spent in ranked or in custom matches with other players, or like where do you spend most of your time?
That's a good question. Season 1, probably a lot of it was just in ranked, and I would say half of it was probably in ranked and half of it was in scrims. But nearing Season 3 and 4, a lot of it was spent in scrims.
Yeah, because I know like in like Holta's Finest and other like scrim discords, like I'd always see you online in there, but I just never saw you in ranked. Like it just felt like maybe 90% of your time was like outside of ranked and just in scrims, especially Season 3. But yeah.
Oh yeah, Season 3 I didn't even bother really playing much. I played World Tour, but I mainly just scrimmed. It was just a lot more fun.
Yeah, I agree. So I know many heavy mains will want to copy some of the stuff after this interview. So do you want to just let us know what your mouse and mousepad is?
I use a Lamzu Atlantis Mini Champion Edition, and then a custom X-Ray pad. It's the Aqua Control Pro pad.
Hey, got the same pad.
Sir.
All right, so let's get into some heavy history here. What heavy loadout did you use every season, and has the loadout changed throughout those seasons, and what are you currently using in Season 4, considering we got some massive changes to the class?
The heavy loadout I used every season, and majority of every heavy used, would be the SA-12-16 shotgun, the mesh shield, dome shield, RPG, and C4. And then with Season 4 with the mesh changes, they pretty much threw it in the garbage. It's like 90% of heavies that you're going to run into are going to be running charge or goo gun if they want to have fun. But there was a period in Season 2 where people did use LMGs and barricades, but that was kind of just all copium. Like it was never strong. It was solid, but it was never strong, because when you bring heavy to the table, you need to have burst damage and stall for your cash. So like the C4 can drop the cash, and the shotgun brings that burst damage.
Yeah, I feel like the barricade back in the day where you could kind of peek over it, it was just sort of like, it was nice when you had another heavy. Like it was like if you're the only heavy, it wasn't the best because you're not that front line. And I feel like heavy is strongest when it's the front line. So yeah, I kind of agree with that.
You needed if you're running double heavy, one heavy could just pretty much flex and do whatever he wants, and then the other heavy pretty much needed shotgun C4, in my opinion.
And all right, so if we were to go back to any state that heavy was in, considering you kind of said it's kind of the mesh has kind of got gutted a little bit, is there any state of heavy class that you want to bring back? Whether it be like the old nukes, having 2 C4s, the old dome timer, the RPG damage. Is there anything specific that you would revert if you could?
Definitely the old dome timer, the 11-second dome. The health on the dome is perfectly fine, but a 5-second dome is ridiculous. You can't even steal, res, or even heal as a heavy inside your bubble. It's ridiculous. And old mesh, 1K mesh, I mean, 750 was fine, but it kind of felt low for a bit. But 1K mesh, I feel like, was perfect. And then that's honestly it.
With like the mesh juggling too, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. Old mesh. Yeah, mesh is almost nothing without mesh juggling. And then old SA, but I don't think it should be reverted. I just miss being able to 4-pump everything.
Dude, the old edit bothered me so much.
It was so broken. But I don't think it should be reverted at all. I just miss it. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I feel like, honestly, a lot of the classes in general have just got like nerf after nerf after nerf. So it was just like only fair that that kind of got nerfed. But I don't really think there's many things in the game right now that are in like a better state than it was originally. Like season 1, I feel like everything was just like really strong. Some things too strong, but yeah.
Not everything's just bad. The light class was kind of bad in season 1 because of recon, but that's about it.
Yeah. So most of us are aware that the strongest comp in the competitive scene from the start was double heavy and 1 medium. There was like a little bit of time where we had sort of recon taking over, maybe triple medium or double medium. And for season 3, there was lots of debates over whether medium or double heavy was the strongest comp, but since we didn't really have ranked, we couldn't really tell. So in season 4, as it stands now, what do you think is the strongest team comp? And specifically, I want to know, like, when it comes to the competitive scene where it was 3v3s and like scrims, and in like ranked where we have to go through knockout rounds. Would you say it's the same comp, or is there different ones for each one?
I would probably say double med would be the strongest comp, mainly for 12 mans. If it's a 3v3, HML would also be very strong, because if you have a really good light like Chickpea on Burts, he'll just glitch like every bubble, every mesh. And the heavies will feel worthless. And when you bring the double med into a 12-man lobby, aka the knockout rounds, you have that extra sustain with the double heal beam, but the light just offers you a lot more playmaking ability with the portal and the glitches and the stuns. It enables your team a lot more. And double heavy has been banned a lot with comp and everything. I think it should be unbanned.
Oh,
and
definitely
just ban double specialization. So there's not domes being thrown, double RPGs, none of that. It's just you're forced on like 1 charge, 1 mesh, for example, or 1 goo, 1 charge, something like that. Just ban double spec, so that if a team does run double medium, they can't run double heal beam and just enable the heavy so much.
Yeah, I remember seeing that comp a lot back in the day. The old raid boss, where you just kind of have your heavy be unkillable, especially with how strong they were back in the day with nukes and everything. Like that was messy.
Yeah, even in 12-man back in Kachi Raibo scrims, it was like me, Z, and Normalize, and they would just literally just walk me in with 2 heal beams, and I'd just kill everybody because I was a little raid boss. Same with Lamp. Even Lamp would have the same thing, but he would also have he had a light Chickpea at the time, so it was kind of hard for him to become a raid boss, but he was still a super strong heavy.
Yeah, I feel like that sort of playstyle, I'm kind of glad we're out of it, because it really relied on basically just having the better heavy in a lot of competitive scene. It was just like, who is the better heavy? The mediums didn't have as much of an impact. So at least now it's a little bit even, but yeah, I think limiting specializations would be an interesting thing, but it almost feels like if we end up down this route of like limiting classes or specializations, it's almost like them giving up on balancing. But maybe that is the best.
It would
for
also
at least the
force
scene.
HML.
It probably would, but yeah, I feel like HML has always been like the most fun, specifically in like scrims and like comp scene in general.
HML is always the most fun. The thing is if we force lock HML, then it forces a lot of people that only play medium off their medium class. Like a lot of the EU scene, they don't even play HML, they just play double medium no matter what. So if you do ban double spec, it can allow people to do the HML if they want, which would be probably the strongest class, or they can still play the double medium that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I feel like at the moment, medium almost feels like a better light with like DMAT and model and stuff like that.
It does,
because it can still like flank, and they can even play for drop, which almost kind of eliminates some of the heavies role, especially after some of the nerfs. So it's interesting.
Definitely.
But we shall see. So as it stands now, would you say that there's anything on the heavy class that, you know, is worth bringing? Like what would be the strongest thing on the heavy class to kind of give a reason as to why you should bring it if you were to go into competitive with heavy?
Definitely shotgun or C4. C4 is basically a must if you're playing anything competitive with, even if it's like a good lobby. If you're playing ranked and there's a lot of diamonds or high plats, you should just bring C4. And a lot of heavies just play barricade and goo grenade, and I mean goo grenade is good, don't get me wrong, but bringing C4 just offers you to basically play anywhere. You can play above, you can play below, and you can just drop the cash and force a stall. And the shotgun is just, if you get good with the shotgun, you can just kill everything.
Actually, I want you to kind of expand on C4, because I've had this a lot, like in YouTube comments and even on stream, some people questioning why I bring C4 if I'm playing heavy on stream, or being like, wow, I've never seen somebody use C4, or even in comments, people saying like C4 needs buff. But if you talk to basically any good heavy, they're bringing C4. So Can you just explain why C4 is so important so that people can, for once, understand?
Yeah, so if you have C4 on a cash out, you can knock the cash out over and hide the C4 under the cash out, and they won't be able to shoot your C4. So if they do start a steal, you can just pop the C4 and it'll cancel the steal if they don't track it or sit on top of it. Also, C4 can be like an entry denier and also an entry like frag, I guess, in a way. You can throw a C4 at at a vault that's being opened. You can, if you're being rushed like really hard and say your medium is like zipping you out, patting you out, or just getting you out of there, healing you out, you could put a C4 on the floor, on the ceiling. So if they do push you, you can RPG the C4 and it does insane damage. You can one shot a medium just by RPGing a C4, and or just simply pop the C4 if they do push you, and it just throws the whole fight in your favor because you have your bubble in your hand, you have your charge, you have all this util against them now.
Yeah.
And it leaves them very weak.
I feel like everybody that's sort of getting into the game, they only see value in like instant damage, and it's really hard to kind of plan ahead. But if you kind of have that intuition and that game knowledge, I feel like C4 is just so incredible. And I feel like there's a good reason why they ended up nerfing it from having 2 charges that I think did like over 200 damage or something at some point.
Yeah, you could one shot so much with
it was crazy. And now it's like 1 with less damage, and yet we're still using it because it's just that valuable. But yeah, like you said, it sets up so much for like your team. Like you don't even have to play on it to get value out of it, which is like really, really strong.
You can even pre-place it on like the mega pads, like on Skyway, the pad onto the hospital or the office building, whatever. You could put C4 when they land or something. So if they land in the average spot where they're going to land, you could just pop the C4 and they'll damage them. You can just do so much with C4 to get damage, get your team out of situations, stall the point. You can do so much with it.
Yeah, even like just opening up a wall, like some
Even
people just
opening
try
a
to
wall,
get damage with everything, and it's okay. Like you can waste your RPG or your C4 to open up a wall if it, you know, gives you more value than that damage you're going to get. But a lot of people don't really like think that far ahead. But
yeah. If you think ahead of the enemy and you just plan with, if you know what they're going to do, for example, either push you, you can just put a C4 on the ground, like as you're running away. The same way a medium nades his feet when he's running, if he's running away, he just nades his feet and keeps running, so you run into that grenade. There's the same thing you can do with a C4 in situations.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of this class, like what would be something that is too weak in your opinion? You can list multiple things that you think might need a buff, whether it be like some of the weapons that you would want to see used more in the meta, or some of the gadgets that you feel like just are weaker than they need to be in order to, you know, be good within the current meta.
Yeah, so the weak parts, I mean, honestly, every heavy weapon right now in Season 4 is all pretty well balanced. They're all just solid to use. If you use it, you're going to get value. But
even the spear?
I would like this. I forgot about the spear. Now, I don't even know how you would buff spear. The melee weapons are so hard to even change. If you do if you increase spear range, it's going to be broken.
It's kind of like the sword. Like the sword was kind of an issue, and then this season it just became such a massive issue with what seemed to be a small buff. But
yeah, one little change made sword insane. I used to be able to just kill swords just for free. Like, oh, a sword's on me, let me just kill him. Now it's like he's just getting so much more value than he should.
Yeah. Yeah, melees are definitely hard to balance.
Yeah. But weak-wise, I would just say mesh right now is way too weak. Dome shield is also too weak. Dome shield HP's fine. The 5-second, it should go back to 11 seconds. There was no problem with that. All you have to do is shoot it, and it's gone. It doesn't even take that many bullets because the HP was low.
Yeah, I also feel like in the comp scene, sometimes it doesn't even last like 5 seconds because you typically throw it at the right time so that it gets blown up.
Yeah, using mesh perfectly is very good, very important when playing heavy. If you waste your dome, it can be a huge like green light for your team to just like, oh, they use dome, let's go on them. We can go on them, and now we have a bubble and we have the instant advantage.
Yeah. For the comp scene, I know that Bertz is known to play HML, and you guys play it at probably one of the best levels I've ever seen. Do you want to see the comp scene be HML, or do you want there to be like a variety of different comps within the scene? So would you like to see like basically all variations of team comps, like even if it's triple light, triple medium, or would you like it to just kind of be like, you know, HML is the main thing people run?
I think roll queue, locking, HML, like you only can play those. I don't know if that'll be healthy for the game. Seeing different variations and what people can come up with is actually really cool with the game. That's kind of how Bertz became like that's how we became Burts. Is we figured out how to use pad and goo really well with the cache and put caches in spots that we never thought we could put. And same with like the EU scene. They don't play light. There's like maybe like 2 or 3 lights, but they don't even main light. They just flex light. Like Vrake, Carnifex, they main light. They can play light perfectly, but it'll just limit a lot more teams to play a class that they don't know how to play. But that'll increase that'll influence them to practice. But and just banning double specialization would be good, honestly. No double heal beam, no double shields, no double charge. And if you do play triple light, triple medium, then you have to play all 3 of the things. You can't have 3 invis lights running around, for example.
True. Yeah, I feel like when I was watching some of your guys' games, it was very interesting the combinations that I saw with like the HML comps where you guys synergized it so well, whereas I find it so much easier to just come up with like a medium heavy comp or a double heavy medium comp, because as the heavy player, you know what the other heavy can do, and it's a lot easier to just instantly synergize because your kits are so similar. But when it came to the way that you guys use stuff, like I was just taking notes. I was like, wow, that's really smart to place the gateway there. And it seems like the rest of the team is very aware of where Chickpea plays the gateway and where Z ends up putting the jump pads below, like you set up your C4 so that drops into it. Like there's a lot of synergy there that I think people just completely sleep on. And I think you guys have been doing stuff that even to this season, I still don't see a lot of people do, even though some of the comp players like me have started to copy a lot of what you guys have done. So I think it's very interesting seeing HML, but I do think it's the hardest. But I still think it still has potential to be one of the best. But you just kind of have to get there in like terms of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. HML it can be the greatest comp if you just play it perfectly. And that's what Burts have been trying to do, is just practice HML constantly to make sure we are playing it at the perfect, just playing it perfectly, because if you do one thing wrong as HML, it could cause your whole team to collapse. Like if, for example, if Chickpea is scouting and he wants to land a glitch and then he just gets 3-tapped by a pike or something, just random example, then that can really just offset like how me and Z are going to play, because we are relying on Chickpea to either land a glitch, land a stun, and same goes for stalling the cash out. He can put a port in a corner where the cache is, where the cache will be if we do play stall. Then we are relying on his port to get back to the cash out really quickly to stop them from stealing. So if Chickpea does get picked there, then it leaves us with having to play closer, and it can be bad real fast.
Yeah, I've played a lot of HML as well in the comp scene, and yeah, like as the light, it's very risky. Like if I get picked off, it's like, all right, well, I just kind of threw this fight, but you kind of have to position in these high risk positions if you're gonna like actually succeed as light. So it is a very risky comp, but very rewarding when you actually like play things correctly.
And even same goes for the heavy and the medium. If they do a misplay, if I'm playing way too far ahead and I get picked as a heavy, that's also very bad. Anyone doing a misplay, it just the consequence is a lot higher than if you're playing either double heavy or double medium.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. And so if we're gonna take a little step back from the comp scene, I want to kind of give a lot of the people, a lot of viewers who are more casual, something to kind of look forward to. So if they're playing, you know, World Tour or Ranked, do you think that heavy is viable within these modes right now, especially as like a solo queue player? And do you think that there's a big difference in bringing heavy into, you know, solo queue or, you know, playing with a 3-stack you found off of Discord versus playing in the comp scene?
Heavy will always be viable. I don't think it matters what the heavy will be playing. I think he will always bring value, but it is a little different when you are playing ranked or World Tour and versus scrims, because whenever I play ranked and World Tour, I can just do whatever I want. I can just play how I would never ever play in a scrim, and I could get away with it so much easier. In scrims, I would have to play off my medium a lot more. I'd have to like just follow around Z, let Z zip me, let Z pad me, and he would just heal me, fib me if I do die. He lets me get my value, let me dominate for the few seconds that I'm alive, and I can get a kill, bubble, do everything. Playing off your medium is very important, but if you are solo queue, it's hard to play off your medium. I would just play a lot more selfishly. I would use my bubbles a lot more selfishly. I would RPG for myself. I would go for kills that I could get value off of. And I do see a lot of heavies are meshing and bubbling their mediums, but you don't really see that much in ranked and War Tour much. But if you do, they have probably seen scrim gameplay, but a lot of them they just like don't know what they're doing on heavy. I don't know. You just have to play your shields better. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so for all the solo queuers out there, if you end up in a game where you're not getting, zip lines and jump pads, you have no medium that's pocketing you, are you changing up your playstyle a little bit? Like, are you going to be bringing anything else in your loadout? Or are you going to be bringing the same standard meta loadout? Like, how would you approach this fight? Because for me, for example, like, I'm used to heavy in a comp scene because I like to flex a lot and like scrims and stuff like that. So I'm used to having a medium pocket me. But when I bring it into like solo and I'm trying to get into a fight, my teammates aren't following up on me. Like, it's a little bit more difficult when you don't have that medium. It's like a pretty big difference. So how are you adapting your like gameplay if you're solo queuing?
When I solo queue, I honestly bait my team a lot more than I should. Only just so because when you're just heavy and you're just walking at them, you're just gonna get instantly fried and possibly just die or run around a corner and wait for regen because your medium will heal you or something. So I just let my team. I just follow my team. Whatever they want to do, they can do. I know how good I am at heavy and how I can enable myself just by an RPG or just by a bubble and just off my shotgun. I know I can get value. But I would just play a lot more selfishly. You can try and play for your team as a solo queue, and if they aren't helping you in any way, just start playing selfish. It'll work a lot more. Just bait them. You can engage with the RPG, but let them get value, and then you can clean up.
All right, so let's get some tips out there for all the future and current heavy mains. Let's first start with, what is your role on the team? Like, how would you define your role as a heavy player? And if you end up using a different spec like Goo Gun or Charge and Slam, like, is your role still the same, or does your role change depending on the specialization you bring in?
Heavy definitely changes a lot as your role. It all depends on what comp you are running. If, say, for example, running double medium and both my mediums are running the model, I would be very supportive for my meds and let them get damage with that model. I could hold mesh for them a lot more. I could entry for them with my RPG and bubble. Just let them get more value than I would, for example. So instead of me just holding W, RPG, I'm bubbling, I'm rushing as fast as I can just to kill them, I would hold my mesh more and just let my models, my mediums with the models, get a lot more damage. Now, if we're HML, I'm looked more as the damage dealer and as the entry frag. The light would be able to enable me, and same with my medium. The light would land a glitch grenade, so they can't use any util. My medium could pad me, for example, and then I could engage with the RPG and just slay out. But once again, for double medium, I could play a very supportive role, or I could play a very aggressive role. But once again, the mediums with their models are just super strong right now, so I would let them get more value than me.
And have you ever brought in like Charge and Slam or Winch into any of the competitive scene? Like, is it still the same thing?
If I'm playing Charge, I'm literally just looked at I'm just throwing my life away basically. So whenever I'm playing Charge, I can simply just, my medium can pad me and I can RPG slam and then bubble, just get as much value as I can with my class and then just die, and then let my light get a stun and then my medium clean up, just things like that. Because with Charge, it's hard to enable your team because you're just destroying walls and floors around you. It could fuck up their movement and stuff like that. But when I don't play Winch is terrible. I don't play Winch, and then Goo Gun, that's just for fun. That's not very competitive. I don't play Goo Gun either. I mainly just play Mesh, and then if I do play Charge, I just throw my life away. Even if it is scrims 3v3s, I'll just throw my life away. Get a lot of value out of the Charge because it does 130 damage. It's ridiculous, and it offsets their entire position basically. If I land a slam, could send one guy flying to the next universe, and then we can instantly pick that guy.
Yeah, it sort of seems like Mesh is more like the tank, but Charge and Slam definitely feels like an entry fragger that you'd see in like CS or Valorant. And then I think Winch was really strong back in the day, but I don't really know. I feel like I don't see it as much, probably because of the nerf, or maybe they fixed something with the detection. I think they fixed the whole glitch thing. Like, you could use Winch while glitched, which was really, really frustrating as a light player. But I think that has been fixed. So it is interesting to see the shift in how you should play for your team. Because yeah, when you have Mesh, it's like making sure that you stay alive. Like, the longer you stay alive can definitely be a lot of value.
Yeah.
And you want them to focus you. Whereas like Charge, it's like you kind of are going to die quickly, so you might as well try to get as much value before you die.
Yeah, you don't really have much. You have to play a lot of corners when you play charge or play barricade, but I don't play barricade. A lot of people will play barricade or goo grenade and then just charge through it. For example, they put a barricade like, "Ooh, I'm running away, I'm baiting you," and then just charge through it. Which it's good. It's a good strategy, but bringing that C4 is just way more important in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so I think this is probably your favorite question. What are the biggest mistakes that you see heavies make?
Biggest mistakes are wasting dome shields and RPGs and just not having C4 in their loadout. Heavy can play however they want, do whatever they want, but the way I've seen a ton of heavies just use their dome. It only lasts 5 seconds now. Even whenever it lasted 11 seconds, they would just throw their dome like, "Oh, we're playing our bubble. There's nothing going on," and then boom, your dome's gone, and you have like you just don't have a dome anymore.
Mhm.
Or their RPG just by off movement. If they see a light, they'll just RPG the light, and then they get no value. The light will just run away and escape. Saving your RPG and saving your dome for brawling and just engaging is perfect. It's how you should play your dome in RPG. You can either you can entry with an RPG and then just immediately throw a dome, or you can throw your dome and save your RPG just as a back pocket, just RPG. If the fight's not going your way, you can turn it with just an RPG maybe. And then yeah, not having C4. C4 is super important. I recommend every heavy putting C4 in their loadout.
Yeah, I remember in scrims you had critiqued me on my heavy, and you said that I just wasted my domes a lot. I'm still learning, and I remember my teammate Kip, you said that he jumps too much during the fights. So
Yeah, he don't jump with a shotgun. If you're using shotgun, do not jump. You are the most telegraph giant piece of fat jumping around. It's so bad. Even with Kip, when I did scrim against him, I got so much more value on my shotgun than I should have.
Yeah,
Against him.
but he's definitely taken that lesson to heart, and I guess for any other heavies out there, these are potentially some mistakes you might be making. Jumping in general isn't necessarily the worst, especially on light. It's really, really good because of your smaller hitbox. On medium, it's not too bad, especially if you have like a shotgun. But yeah, on heavy, like you said, you're just kind of a slow, very telegraphed
It's
target.
horrible.
Yeah.
Do not jump on heavy.
Maybe like one after a slide to entry or something, but after...
Yeah, you could... Yeah. If you're using shotgun and you do shoot those 4 pellets and you're rotating your barrel, you can slide. You could possibly jump if you want. I don't recommend it. Sometimes I do just to try and make them miss their model shot just because model's really good against heavy.
It is.
And yeah, if there's a model in your face and you're just like jumping or I don't even know, just don't. He's going to murder you so fast.
Yeah, the model seems to be like the counter to every class right now, and the pike is just very oppressive. Like medium's definitely making light and heavy very difficult this season.
Which is even more of a reason to use your dome and RPGs wisely.
If
there's a model in your face, say for example say you're pushing a team and I don't know, the fight just doesn't go your way, you can drop a floor, go up a floor, you can turn a corner and then use your dome and play outside your dome. So it's very oppressive because they have to run through your dome or break your dome. And you could easily get some big damage with your shotgun and then you can just bubble juggle. But
now, this is something that I've heard people talk about, especially when they're getting into the game. And even sometimes in higher elo, this gets debated, and I don't think it really should be, but let me just get it clear. Should the heavy player be the one to steal the cashouts? And should they be the ones to plug the cash box into the cashout station?
I mean, the only time a heavy should be stealing a cash out is if everyone in the lobby is dead and you can easily just steal it. The medium should always be stealing it, and you could, because for one, you have your bubble, and you have if you're running mesh, you can mesh your medium stealing. You can also, you are bigger than the medium, so you can body block a lot easier, and you can also place your mesh perfectly between either the bullets and the player. There's been many times where Z has been stealing, and a lot of people like to just stand inside of them, but a lot of times I would just slowly back up and perfectly place my mesh so their guns won't even hit them. They'll only shoot mesh, as even if they are trying to just put the gun like in his head, they'll just shoot mesh. And plugging the cash box, the light can just plug the cash box. He can port it, he can grapple, he can do a lot more.
Yeah.
To plug it faster, and yeah, I recommend the medium always stealing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the medium should be stealing. It obviously depends on like your team comp. Like if it's medium heavy, sometimes the second heavy could be the one to steal if they're not bringing mesh, for example.
Yeah, definitely. It depends on the comp, but most comps are double medium or HML. If you are double heavy, then yeah, a heavy can steal, but once again, you are bigger than the medium, and the medium you can body block him a lot easier.
Yeah, I think the fact that like you are bigger and you can body block should be a kind of dead giveaway that you support someone in stealing but don't steal yourself. And then when it comes to like plugging the cash box, I agree. Light is a really good one for that. If you don't have light, then it's kind of just situational, I guess, in terms of the team comp. But I do like being able to set up as a heavy, so it really does depend on the team comp, because being able to use C4, for example, in the cash box, or sorry, cash out station and knock it over onto the C4 is obviously good as the heavy. So if you do end up plugging, then obviously you can do that. So yeah, I think plugging isn't as important as knowing that you shouldn't be the one to steal. But plugging is obviously going to be situational. But movement is obviously going to get you to the cash box, and doing it fast is usually better.
Yeah.
Now a tip for the lights and the mediums that are out there. So as a heavy player, what do you want your teammates to do more of? Is there anything that your medium or your lights that are on your team, what do they do that makes it hard to kind of do your job as a heavy? And what would you like them to do more of so that it kind of makes it a little bit easier to play your role? Or at least, you know, even help them? Because I find there's a lot of times it's like they're doing something that makes it really hard for you to even help them because, you know, as a tank, you really do want to keep them alive.
Yeah. If I'm just playing with a random medium and a light, or a random double medium, I want them to enable their heavy more. Enabling your heavy also just enables you, because there's a lot of mediums that will just like selfishly pad or selfishly just zip away and then just leave their heavy in the dust, for example, which you just don't want to do. And as a heavy, you can follow your medium, which is also good in case he does do that. But just following your medium in general is good because it can enhance that quick decision making. So if a medium says, I don't know, let's zip up here to this cash out, and let's pad on them. So we're just gonna place a pad below them and pad on them and RPG them. Then if you being with your medium, it just flows better because he has that decision. He's the IGL, and then you can just go off of it instantly. And a light, what I want my light to do more is just stun for the heavy more. A light landing a stun for a heavy, they just instantly die. It's just the freest 4-pump of a shotgun. They will die so fast. And just landing glitch grenades. Enabling your heavy is just so important when you're playing heavy. If you're playing light or lighter medium and just enabling the heavy to do its job, he will just get so much more value and just be able to just dominate.
Yeah, actually, I think the stun thing is a really cool topic to discuss. Sorry, give me a second. I just need to take some water.
Okay.
Fuck. Yapping. Okay. So when it comes to using light, I find that a lot of times people try to use the stun for themselves, whether they're trying to pick off a target on their own. And that isn't always how stun kind of works. Being able to stun somebody so that your team can follow up is a lot more important. I remember watching Chickpea play during one of the breakout matches, and it was really impressive how he went in first, and I was like, oh shit, a light shouldn't go in first. But he lands a stun and instantly backs out. Then you and Z end up just following up. And then Chickpea comes back in for the cleanup. And I was like, wait, that actually makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Most people get baited into like, okay, I landed the stun, now let me shoot. And then they just die. Especially when you're facing a good player. They're going to just out aim you because, you know, as a light, you just die that quickly. So that is a really good point. And yeah, having a good light that can actually stun for a heavy, very, very important.
Usually using any of your util selfishly is just not good. Chickpea will never ever selfishly stun, and if he does, he knows he's in the wrong, but he'll always just stun for us and just get out and then just let us do our thing. Because me and Z have really good synergy of just playing heavy medium together. We have many, many hours just playing together. But yeah.
All right, so let's kind of do some wishes for the future. If there is anything that you could rework, like a gadget or specialization on heavy, what would you rework?
Oh, immediately I think charge and slam. That ability is absurd. You do 130 damage for impact, like what, 50 for juggling, then 75 for a slam. And then the higher you're up, the more damage you do for a slam.
So how would you rework it?
Honestly, I think the damage could go down a little bit, not too much, just a little. And make it charge or slam, not charge and slam. So if you do want to do a slam, you do a slam. If you want to do a charge, you do a charge. You don't do both. I think that's a good way to rework the gadget and just not be annoying, because no one likes being charged and slammed. Like, you just get bumped around, there's an earthquake on your screen, so much screen shake, and then you just get slammed and you're dead. Or you get sent flying. It's like, it's not fun. So I think if there is just that one ability happening at you, you could deal with it a lot easier. Because you don't know when he's going to slam. He could slam at the end. He could slam at the beginning. So if you know he's charging, then you could easily play off that more. So like if you do see him charging, or you know he's going to charge, your light could just hold stun gun.
True.
You could stun him out of it.
Now, with new seasons coming, we often get like new weapons, new gadgets and stuff. Is there any weapon or gadget or specialization or something that you could think of that you would want to see on the class? Something that, you know, you would love to use in the future? No idea. I know I've heard people say that they wanted a 50 caliber sniper, and I'm like, that sounds like the worst idea for a heavy.
That's not gonna do anything. Like it's just
so bad.
It's literally just gonna like how the devs will make it is just gonna break walls. That's it.
Yeah, I know
like
for me, what I want to see is like rocket jumping. Even if it's like its own gadget, we don't have to rework RPG, but like having something that gives heavy mobility, like a selfish mobility, I think would be cool. Even if it's not, you know, used in the comp scene. It'd be nice to have something selfishly for like solo queue and stuff.
That's what a lot of heavies do with barricade, though. Is they use it for vertical movement.
Oh yeah. Even like anti-grav, you can like slide jump into it to like kind of move fast, but it's not like, you know, comparable to say like a grapple or dash or zip line or something like that.
A new gadget for heavy. Let me think about this. It's actually hard. Like, how do the devs even come up with new shit?
I don't know. They do every time though.
No wonder they did a melee only fucking season because they don't know what else to add.
I know for me, I would want to see like more like weapons that aren't just like shotguns or close range or something like that, but not anything that's like far range. I think the dual wield deagles were really cool, but like dual wield SMGs could also be something that's like kind of nice. So it kind of plays into that sort of shotgun role, but isn't, you know, anything too crazy.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I would say a new heavy weapon for something than more range. I mean, we have the slug, but the fall off's insane. The deagles are a good range weapon, but it's not like that far range. And every time something gets close, whenever you use the deagles and someone gets close, it's really hard to hit those shots. But
yeah, I think it has like slight bloom that makes it difficult. Probably remove that on the deagles.
Yeah, that too. Remove the bloom on the deagles. Actually, yeah, just remove the bloom on the deagles, and there's your ranged weapon.
True. So I've heard a lot of times that people say that medium is the only reason that heavy's strong. Do you think that's true?
No. Medium. Okay, heavy is strong on its own if you could live on your own, which you have to be good at the class of it. You have to be good with the shotgun. No window RPG, no window dome. If you can do all that, heavy will be very strong in your hand. But medium is like the biggest enabler for heavy. He can move him around the map, make him just feel like a raid boss just because how medium is. He has heal beam, he has movement, and even if he does die, that medium can instantly drop down there. There's been times where Z, if he knows I'm gonna die, he already has his fibs like just cooked. Like they're out, they're ready. Like he's just like standing by my body, just waiting for me to die because he knows I'm gonna die. He doesn't see me. If he doesn't see value in healing me because I'm just gonna die, he'll just have the fib ready to go, instantly drop down, I'm back alive. Which is once again, that's enabling the heavy. That doesn't make it stronger. It just enables it to be even more strong than it can be. Yeah. But on its own, heavy is very strong. And yeah.
So like, if you didn't have a medium on your team, do you think it would still be worth to play heavy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Literally yesterday, I had 2 sword lights on my team, and I dropped like 63 kills in a ranked, or not ranked. Sorry, World Tour.
World Tour, yeah.
Yeah, World Tour. You can get so much value on heavy if you play it well.
So outside of just heavy, what do you think balance-wise needs to happen for the finals to actually be taken seriously in the competitive scene? Or do you think the game is actually in a balanced state?
I think we're entering a more balanced state, definitely. Season 1, everything was just way too strong. It made your class just feel weak sometimes. Like if you hold FCAR against a light, you just died so fast. If you stunned a medium in Season 1 who had FCAR, you just died. They could hip fire you from like 10 meters. It was ridiculous. You felt like you're fighting an uphill battle. But right now, I think we are in a more balanced state. The only problem is they're releasing like long range weapons like the pike, and then they're nerfing shields. Mm-hmm. So that's very poorly balanced, in my opinion. It just doesn't make sense. Why nerf a shield and then add a very long range weapon that could just kill everything instantly?
Yeah, I also feel like some of the nerfs were weird on light. For example, like the XP nerf. It felt like,
yeah, that too.
I could understand nerfing the XP back in the day, but then you're adding a bunch of range to the rest of classes, and then one of the best range options on light ends up getting kind of gutted. And it was like, well, what are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
It feels the same with Mesh.
Yeah. They're nerfing SMGs and ARs even LMGs in just such a weird way that the guns feel way too similar in TTK. Like AK and FCAR, they're getting so close to like each other. Like AK almost has 25 bullets now. Like FCAR went from 20 bullets to 25, AK went from 36 to 32, and their damage is like just about the same.
Yeah,
it
is weird.
it's like what do I even use? Do I want the more ammo count? Do I want the sight? Do I want the faster reload? It shouldn't come down to those decisions when choosing an AR or an SMG. That's just my opinion, though. I think they should dominate in their own areas. Like the XP had its range. Obviously, the range was ridiculous, but it didn't need a damage.
Nah.
If you're able to use a lower ammo count weapon on a class and do more damage, then you should be able to get a lot more value out of it.
Yeah. Is there like anything particular in the game's balance right now that sort of stands out as like holding it back, or is there like a lot of things?
I would say it's quite a few things, mainly the medium class. It's kind of in a power creep meta right now. The model has really never ever been changed, and now the model is seen as one of the best weapons in the game just because they've nerfed everything else. I think they just need to just look at how medium is supposed to be played and how every class is supposed to be played and bounce off that. The medium should not be getting so much value and have so much util and so much movement, and like he should not, a medium should not be able to do that. A medium has always been seen as the support role, and I feel like it should stay that way. The ARs need buffed and the shotguns need nerfed. They should be able to play their low to mid range with ARs, sometimes that far range, have that poke, and whenever it comes to close range, the heavy should be able to dominate, not the medium.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is kind of weird to see like the medium with the model just kind of like
just
beating
stomp everything
heavies a lot of times. It's weird.
Like a model should not be able to walk in my face and have the most movement while using a gun. By the way, he can just run around and just shoot and point and click and do like 130 or something to me. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sitting down to chat. Do you have anything else that you would want to kind of promote or say?
Promote or say, just play heavy more, people.
Honestly, there's not a lot of people who play heavy. It's crazy.
There's not enough heavies. There's way too many lights. There's way too many mediums. But that's all because they just kept nerfing and nerfing and nerfing heavy. Mesh got nerfed, what, 5 times? Mm-hmm. Dome's been nerfed probably around the same, and they've never been good changes. Like the length time for Dome, that was never a good change. No one liked that change. Everyone felt like it was just unnecessary, which I think it was very unnecessary. The mesh changes were always fine. Removing melee through a mesh was kind of ridiculous. They thought that was a bug, but it was in the game for like 9 months. So I don't know how they said that was a bug.
I know the LMGs, like I feel like the recoil and all the nerfs that they did to that made the class like really difficult for people who are new to the game to start to get into it, because your first introduction to a class is going to be that starter loadout, which has the M60, and for so long the M60 has just been so bad. So it's like your first impression of the class feels so bad. So I feel like for new players, they just never really cared to learn it. And almost everything that's good on it is not necessarily the things that they throw at you right away. Where some of the other class, you start off with something that at least feels pretty good. And heavy's like, it was always in a weird spot where it's like there's a few things on it that feel good. Everything else just feels like crap.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. They give you like a pyronade on heavy. Like, when are you ever going to use a pyronade on heavy class?
When are you ever going to use a pyronade, period?
Yeah, that too. I see so many people running around the pyronade. Even heavies. Heavies sometimes run around with grenades and mines. Like, please do not run that. You are getting no value. You might think you're getting value just because some bonehead runs on it, but it's not good for the heavy class. Run the C4, start running shotgun more, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the heavy in general has always had some of the strongest gadgets, and a lot of people don't really lean into them enough. Like at least in with light and medium, it made sense to start bringing some of the neutral ones like frag grenade or whatever. Whereas like heavy,
definitely,
a lot of their class specific gadgets are very strong, and people just refuse to kind of like learn or kind of pick them up, even though like you see top players always using very similar stuff. And the C4, we kind of yapped about it before. Like no casual ever touches that because they just don't see the value in it. But there's tons of value within heavy's gadgets specifically that I think that's why they kind of have dominated for so long. And I almost feel like that's why a lot of the weapons ended up being like nerfed to a point where they felt weird, because it's like a lot of the value of the class is in the gadgets. And so people who aren't learning that think the class is weak or don't want to like learn it. But yeah, casuals for some reason just don't want to touch heavy, even though it's honestly one of the most fun classes once you start to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. I was a light main and a medium main before even touching. I never even unlocked the heavy class in all the betas, and yeah, I never even unlocked the heavy class. I said I will not play that garbage. I won't, just because it didn't appeal to me. I only played light through all the betas. Then I started to pick up medium just because I thought light was getting boring. And then one day in January, I just started to pick up heavy. And then I realized how much fun and how much value and how much damage you can just put out with a single class. It was unbelievable. And then ever since then, I've just been maining it. And then I became one of the greatest heavies alongside other great heavies like Lamp. And I can't really name any other heavies because no one plays heavy.
I know like Lag Commit likes to hop on heavy from time to time. Is pretty good.
Yeah, Commit, he's been flexing heavy a little bit. He's a light main though. I think I can't even really I'm scrolling right now looking, like I can't even find one. Gremlin, that's another heavy. He's pretty good.
He was Charge and Slam a lot too throughout season 2, I think it was.
Season 2 breakout, he was convinced that Charge and Slam and Lewis Gun was very good for breakout, like in just the meta. And then I always told him, like, you just like go back to shotgun mesh, trust me. And then he eventually did. But
yeah.
Even at the beginning of season 4, a lot of people were coping that the M60 was good or the Lewis gun was good. They're all right. They're not good. Like, they're good at cleaning up fights with the ammo count. That's about it. But the way you can heavy offers a lot of burst damage with a shotgun and charge and slam that you can easily, like, if there's like 30 seconds left and you got to win a point, you could easily just do that with charge and slam and shotgun if you just push everybody.
Yeah.
You can't really do that with an LMG.
I also feel like
the class.
That's actually a pretty interesting topic with like the different guns and how you get value out of them, because a lot of people always say like SA-12 is really bad, especially when it comes to like the casual side. And there's like a lot of value that you get out of heavy that isn't so obvious. And, you know, if you just sit back and constantly are shooting, then of course you're going to get more value out of the Lewis gun. But if you are going to be a frontline for the team where you are, you know, I know we can't really juggle, you know, the shield anymore, but in a sense, you know, juggling your shield with your dome shield and stuff like that and getting in people's faces, you're enabling your team. And obviously, if you have your team enabling you, it's a really good synergy. But sitting back further and just trying to like beam with the Lewis doesn't enable your team to like close a distance. And so there's value that you're getting out of heavy by playing the SA-12 mesh that isn't so obvious versus somebody who might be using a charged Lewis. And I'm not trying to say that you can't use Charged Lewis. Obviously, if you guys want to use whatever you want in World Tour ranked, go for it. But people look at, you know, SA-12 as not a good weapon because they don't really see the full value and the full understanding of the kit, especially when it comes to like being the frontline for your team and just shielding. You can get really quick burst in with your SA, and then you have your shield up again or your back behind cover, whatever. Those quick bursts are a lot more valuable than, you know, small chip damage over a long distance, because that's not necessarily your job as the heavy. That might be more the light or the medium player that can do that, especially with, you know, Pike, LH1, the old XP, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, whenever you are in people's faces with the shotgun, it does cause them just to run away or just try and reposition because they know they're going to die, basically. So it's also just a free kill. So if you're in an aim duel with a Lewis gun and an AK, you're just like shooting each other back and forth, and if you win, you win. It's like a coin flip fight. But if you're in someone's face with a shotgun and they turn their back, it's just the freest kill. You get so much value.
True. All right. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you for chatting with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.